I've been at New York Film Festival. I've been watching movies, man. The grind never stops. I'm exhausted. It has been 3-4 movie days.
One film after another.
One battle after another, indeed. It is. I'm very, very tired, honestly. I skipped a movie today because I just couldn't wake up.
That's all right. What are the ones that are worth it, though? Let the people know.
All right, so I'll start it off with Miroirs No. 3. I don't know what a miroir is, let alone what the third is, but I do know that this movie is the latest from your guy, Christian Petzold. Of course, the filmmaker behind Phoenix and A Fire and Undine. This one actually did remind me of Phoenix in some ways because it's sort of similarly dealing with like this haunted vibe, this element, this ghostly element of sorts from their past that is hovering over the film and affecting how the characters are acting. It's the story of this woman who miraculously survives a car crash, and she's taken in by a woman who lives next to, like, in the middle of nowhere where this car crash happens. And rather than go to the hospital, she asks to just stay with the woman. And you find that they're both kind of healing each other in different ways. It's a really interesting, observed patient drama, but just one that has these really, really transcendent moments where you just feel like you're feeling so much of the character's life trauma put into these scenes. It's very effective the way that Petzold movies tend to be.
Good. I'm excited for that one.
Maybe a miroir is a mirror. That would make a lot of sense. Mirror number 3.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. The Mastermind is the new film from Kelly Reichardt. It is a film about a unemployed carpenter who is working as an amateur art thief planning his first big heist. The art thief is played by Josh O'Connor. And if you know Kelly Reichardt, you know that she's a fan of very deliberately paced, patient movies. Things happen quite slowly in a Kelly Reichardt movie, and sometimes that's people's taste and sometimes that's not. It was your taste in First Cow. It was not in Showing Up, and I understand. That's okay. This one, to me, I think it's maybe a little bit more the speed of First Cow because there is some sort of really interesting positioning of this guy around the circumstances of his world. The same way that John Magaro's character, you're following his story, his trying to scrape together an existence, but you're also learning about this frontiersman and what lifestyle was like in this era of early America. This is a story that is set firmly in the era of Vietnam and the anxiety that exists in the country around them. And a lot of the people in the film are actively thinking about dodging the draft and stuff like that. So there's sort of this anxiety that exists underneath the movie, but then it's also met with this really cool jazz score that makes things really slick and fun. The movie that this reminded me the most of is David Fincher's The Killer, because I think they're both movies about guys who seem ultra competent at their job that are gradually revealed to be big bozos. And that's, I think, the joy of this movie is at first you think, oh man, this Josh O'Connor guy really knows what he's doing. And by the end, you're like, this dude is so dumb. It's a pretty fun movie. It's slight, as a lot of Kelly Reichardt movies are, but I liked it quite a bit.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it. We got a whole retrospective coming out, so I'm excited.
Nice. I was telling you a little bit about Late Fame, which is the new film directed by Kent Jones and notably written by Sammy Birch, who wrote our beloved May December. This one stars Willem Dafoe as a poet who wrote a book of poetry many, many years ago that sort of got forgotten and then gets rediscovered by a group of young artists. So it's sort of about his re-entering the world of young New York City artists and how dynamics have changed and observing the privilege that these people have. It's not necessarily the most revelatory take on well-meaning but naive, rich young artists. But I thought that there were these moments that are pretty funny in how they're depicted and how the characters are portrayed, which I think you would understand coming from the writer who did May December. It's also got, you know, a solid Willem Dafoe performance and this really radiant Greta Lee performance in it as well. It's an interesting drama, and especially if you're interested in questions about like authenticity in art, you might find it interesting, but definitely one that you can probably wait till it hits VOD.
Sounds good. I found out it was a book too, so I'm curious.
Right. Yeah, I've never read, so I don't know. You mentioned Wagner Moore and The Secret Agent earlier. I was able to watch that one as well. A really interesting story of this guy who is navigating being a sort of dissident to the government in the 1970s. And in some ways, it has these echoes of the previous Brazilian film to be a big player at the Oscars, I'm Still Here, because it also has this element of timeline that's partially in the present and partially on the past, where the present is reflecting on the happenings of the past. But this film is pretty stylish in how it approaches the story as well. There's these like flights of fantasy that happen, and it's like got a little bit of romanticism and a bit of anxiety and suspense, and you know, it's really kind of a tonal mixed bag in a way that keeps it alive and pretty exciting. I don't know if I felt like I had like a big takeaway at the end of it. I maybe feel like I'm missing a certain something, but it is a pretty riveting movie. And Wagner Moura is the most important part. He is very, very excellent in this movie. The movie that I was really, really blown back by, though, is Sirat. This is a movie that I think debuted at Cannes. It played at TIFF. It is, I want to say, Spain's entry into the Oscars this year, and Neon already has the rights to it.
Ooh.
We had some friends on for a Critics Pick Their Favorite TIFF Movies video, and CJ, Karsten, and Ben all mentioned this as the best movie they saw at TIFF. And I think I understand why, because it really leaves an impact on you. This is a story about a father and son who arrive at a rave in the Moroccan desert searching for their lost daughter and sister. And the way that the film sort of unfolds and reveals more about itself is really, really fascinating, because what's happening in the background of this movie is even more consequential than what's happening at the surface. And, you know, I don't have any like clear takeaways from it other than like the world is fucked and we're all fucked no matter how we try to approach it. But it is like a very viscerally compelling film. I can't tell you the last time I heard actual screams in the auditorium where I saw the movie. People screamed at a certain point in this film, which tells you a lot about how effective I think it is. I'm going to mention No Other Choice briefly, because I know that both Amanda and Chase talked about it during our TIFF video and liked it quite a bit. It's the new Park Chan-wook movie, and it is excellent. It is the story of a man who, after getting laid off by his job, devises a plan to try and secure a new job, eliminating his competition. And it's got the sort of subversive style that you expect from a Park Chan-wook movie. Like, there's certainly traces of Old Boy's humor here, but I think there's just a real kinetic way to how it moves, how it's cut together, how he shoots all this. I think the way he shoots films is some of the most unique and exciting stuff in digital photography. Particularly, he uses iPads and iPhones so well here. There's this one shot where the lead character is laying down on the couch and he's holding the phone up above him, and he frames it like it's a 2-shot, and then his wife comes in and they frame it like it's a 3-shot, the phone, him and her. There's this other really incredible sequence where they're showing this guy information on an iPad, and then the iPad does that thing where the screen goes to sleep, but as soon as it goes to sleep, you see a perfect reflection of the character who is looking at the screen. And it's just like these things where he is implementing the cell phone screens to do dramatic storytelling in a way that I don't think other people are even really trying to do.
Nice.
Really, really thrilling stuff. A lot to really like about No Other Choice. I definitely want to talk about it more in depth when you have a chance to catch up with that movie.
Excited.
Nouvelle Vague, both Chase and Amanda liked a lot at TIFF the story of Jean-Luc Godard making Breathless, directed by Richard Linklater, almost entirely in French, which is pretty cool. Linklater directing a non-English movie. I think what's cool about this movie is it almost feels, in a way, like a caper film. It's like, wow, they got away with this one. Godard pulled one off, like it's a heist or something like that. And so I think if you're a movie nerd or you're just a nerd for a plan put into action, then you're going to find things to enjoy about this one. And I think Zoe Deutsch in particular gives a really, really fun performance where she does this mix of English and French and like poorly spoken French. It's very, very cool. To me, the big surprise from what I've seen so far is Pillion. I don't know if this is a movie that's even on your radar. It played at Cannes earlier this year, and it stars Alexander Skarsgård and Harry Melling in a very sweet gay S&M rom-com.
Okay.
Basically, Harry Melling is this very timid man who is having trouble getting a relationship, and he's introduced to this world of like very kinky S&M bondage through Alexander Skarsgård. Because look, if you get the chance to hook up with Alexander Skarsgård, are you going to say no? And it just sort of plays on the awkwardness of him being really eager to please, but also not understanding that world, and has these elements of power play that come into factor whenever you have something that deals with this kind of S&M relationship. It's very interesting and most of all, very, very funny. I thought the performances were really excellent in it too. So I'd definitely put that one on your radar. Just a couple more here from what I've seen from New York so far. You were asking me off stream about House of Dynamite. This is the new one from Catherine Bigelow, which follows a nuclear missile launched at the United States and the rapid response that unfolds from different layers of the U.S. government. I think this is an example of why Catherine Bigelow is one of the most legendary action filmmakers, because she's able to put together these sequences that have so much urgency, that the tension is so high, that move so quickly. You understand like the importance and the danger, and it's all communicated really cinematically. And then the movie just lets itself down structurally, because it's organized almost like Rashomon, where you see the same things happen from different perspectives. Sounds really interesting, right? The thing about a Rashomonic style movie is that I think in order for it to work, you have to reveal new things that change your opinion of what you previously saw before.
The whole bit.
Right. This is just showing you the same exact things from different sides of the Zoom call. There's no Rashomon in this Rashomon style film. And so the urgency that is like, you know, DEFCON 1 in the first third of this movie just gets less and less and less as you're seeing the exact same things happen. And I kid you not, there was an audible laugh when this movie ended at the New York Film Festival. Damn. Because it is such a letdown of an ending, such a non-ending ending. There's a version of this movie where it could work better, but this is not that one. And I've seen some people really like it because there is some really good filmmaking here, some really good performances, a lot of really good actors in this one. But I just think this movie is not, it is really, really underdone by how it was written.
Damn. That's sad. Well, it's coming out to Netflix, so people will be able to see it at the end.
Yeah, you'll judge for yourself in not too long. The last two I'm going to bring up here are Luca Guadagnino's After the Hunt, which is a new film with Julia Roberts, Io Adebri, Andrew Garfield, Michael Stuhlbarg, Chloe Sevigny. It's the story of a college professor who has a lot of questions about how to handle a situation when her star pupil levels an accusation against one of her colleagues. I think this is a story that, you know, feels somewhat like relevant in the Me Too era, although we're kind of, it's been
a lot of takes on this,
a few years of stories like this, so maybe not as like at the cutting edge as you might want for a story tackling issues like this. And their solution to not necessarily being at the cutting edge is to kind of just undermine every one of your expectations. It's like you hear the structure of this story and you kind of know what the broad strokes of it are supposed to be. And so their big provocative idea is, what if all those things that you think are going to happen, the opposite of it is true? Which, maybe that's in itself its own provocation, but at a certain point, it's predictable and boring, because all you're doing is like, oh, you think it's this way, what if it's exactly the opposite? And that's just not that dramatically compelling. I thought the characters didn't really make a lot of sense. It helps that like you have some really fantastic actors here. Julia Roberts in particular, it's really interesting to see her kind of do this withering thing where she's really stone cold and icy rather than her big smile, effervescent self that she is in a lot of movies. But I just think that this is like a pretty like nonsensible script that doesn't amount to much and has like a really unsatisfying ending in particular. There's some touches of fun Luca Guadagnino direction. He loves his close-ups of hands, but it was definitely a big letdown for me.
Damn.
Yeah. And then lastly, I was at the premiere for Anemone, which is the debut film from Ronan Day Lewis. And I don't know, maybe that last name is a little bit familiar to you. This film stars Daniel Day-Lewis and Sean
On his Brett
Bean.
Favre.
Yeah, he's all gray in this one. He's looking a little bit aged. This is a story about the ties between family, between brothers, things that sort of, even if distance and personality and years pull you apart, the things that tie you together. And it's a very like introspective story about the like emotional journey that these two characters who are in middle age are going through. But it is a really kind of languid and indulgent movie. It really feels kind of like there's like Ronan was like, what do you want to talk about, Dad? And gave him space to monologue about stuff. It's just like to me, a pretty sloppy debut feature, which we probably wouldn't be talking about if it didn't star Daniel Day-Lewis.
That was my biggest worry. I was like, it feels like you really are retired and you're coming out because it's, what do you call it? What's your parents' day? Job day at the school?
Right.
Sad to see.
I will say that I was there for a Q&A with Daniel Day-Lewis, and he was pushing back on the whole idea of being retired. He was saying it was kind of a mistake to even use that word. Yeah, exactly. So I suspect we'll be getting a bit more of Daniel Day-Lewis on screen soon, but this was not the return to the screen that I was hoping it'd be, though he is, like a Titanic performer, and I don't think it's out of the question that he would be in consideration for an Oscar nomination or anything like that. It's not one of my favorite performances of the year, but he is Daniel Day-Lewis.